Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly energy update with me, Tamara Childs, and Ruth McCants. We are here. It's a Thursday. Hello, Ruth.
Well, hi there, Miss Tamara.
How's the weather where you are? Southern
Well,
California.
I'm swimming through the warm air. Yes,
Yes, I
I'm
know.
doing my cooling thing.
Things are hot. Things are hot
Mhm,
right now for all of us.
mhm.
And it's not just the weather, it's the astrology as well. And so we want to say hello to everybody out there in YouTube land who have begun to follow these shows. Thank you for connecting with us here. And we hope you're having a good week. So Ruth, how would we like to start today's energy update? What do you think? We were discussing my kyanite stone. I have a kyanite that is a nice thing that you can hold, and I like it because it's cool, but it's sparkly.
I think that's a great stone to hold, have in your hand.
Yeah.
It has that watery feel to it, but
Mm.
it's earthy in the sense that you have something to hold on to. And with all this fire energy going on, that's a perfect stone to be holding.
It is. It's also very uplifting, I find. And right now, that kind of goes with some of the cards that I chose for this week because we have a lot going on. Uranus is turning retrograde. Let's start actually and just talk about that because you said something really interesting right before we started about um, the need to ground the fire in constructive action right now.
Right, because we have, like you said, Uranus is retrograde in Aries. Aries is a beginning, and wherever this happens to be in your chart or our charts, it's important to really ask yourself, because we got about 5 or 6 more months of Uranus passing through, because it's already at 28, 27 degrees. So
Yeah, it's
by I guess next February,
mhm.
it's going to be moving. So it's really important to ask, what is it that I am beginning, and how am I going to move on what I'm beginning? Now, Saturn is sitting in Sagittarius, and they are trying each other. It means they've got a good communication going on.
There's a flow. They're happy with
Yeah,
each other.
right, absolutely. And then with the sun sitting in Leo,
Mhm.
my take on this is that we need to get heartful with whatever we need to do at this particular time and use this energy wisely. Now, in terms of the cards, it's interesting. I picked 3 cards came up to me. I am using the angel cards with Doreen Virtue and Radlith Valentine today. And these 3 cards jumped out. Now, I don't know how I managed to get 3 earth cards, but that's the grounding piece that I see. I received 10 of earth, 3 of earth, and 9 of earth. And
Oh,
they're all about, I think, settling, because if you look at fire, how do you have to bank fire? You have to put fire in some kind of earthy container.
yeah, to modulate the fire so that it's not out of control. You don't lose what you've been working on.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know it's an interesting this idea of beginnings. And so just repeating what you just said to our audience, thinking about what has been new for you that you have been working on that is now getting sort of it's going to be banked in the coals. It's going to sit there and kind of gain heat, and there may be some reminders coming to all of us about the things that we have started, like, and how is that constructive? Does it really move toward our heart's desires right now, or
Absolutely.
is it are there places where our energy is scattering too much, I think.
And you know what happens when fire, because we in both of the states where we live,
Mhm.
we are, Mother Nature is giving us a demonstration of when fire gets loose. And we have fires that are only partly contained. Every day I look in the sky and it's kind of grayish, and because that the air currents are bringing that fire that is not contained.
Yeah, and there's it's interesting. It's difficult to gather all these thoughts together today because it feels kind of complex to me. But in my work, I often talk about psychic smog, and this is when
That's a good one.
I know there's pollution. There's pollution that comes from the confusion. When everyone is in transition at the same time, and when nobody's quite sure how to anchor themselves, confusion comes up. And when there's too much sort of action without grounding, it can also cause pollution and confusion, or we look at somebody else and what they're doing and try to emulate them or try to be like them. And that's not, Leo is very individualistic in a certain sense. It wants to see, well, what do I want?
Right.
And then so I feel like the combination, like you said, of the Leo sun right now with Uranus in Aries is like, what have I started to notice about me that I want to bring out in the world, or have, or be, or focus on, that is still in tune with the heart, and then clearing out a lot of the clutter, like
absolutely.
There's a lot of chatter.
Well, I want to add something else to this, and this is going to happen this next Monday with the full moon in Aquarius, which is a good balancer to the Leo, because Aquarius says, look, we need to also have a vision and to look forward to something. And there's the lunar eclipse. Interestingly enough, I'm hearing lots of, as you say, chatter, and it's a good thing about the solar eclipse, which is going to happen in August. That's the 21st.
Yes.
But this lunar eclipse is asking us first to go inward, and I have not heard much about that at all, because everybody wants to be out here, but this eclipse is saying go in there first. Go in, settle on the earth a little bit. Get an understanding of what you need to let go of, so that when the solar eclipse comes, you'll be ready.
I know, it's very interesting how there is an overemphasis on the solar eclipse. And first, we do have that lunar. It's funny because I'm going to talk on the show, my radio show tomorrow, Elements of Wisdom, about the Leo Aquarius axis, and how when I love that you mentioned visioning, because Aquarian is about the visions that we have and how to bring those about in the world. And everyone who's listening to this has a vision. There's something they're wanting to create. And often to create something, we plug into group thought forms about that thing, or be in community with other people who are kind of doing what we're doing or want to do, or we're watching or admiring other communities, or we're having those people that inspire us. And I sense with the lunar energy on that pivot point, who inspires us, what groups inspire us, the groups that are holding us back, those are the focal point for that eclipse, that we may have to unplug from outdated affiliations, in order to really move forward. And sometimes these affiliations, there's like an unconsciousness there. It's like, well, we 5 years ago, we agreed about something and we all connect on that. And now you realize, oh, I've grown beyond that.
That's right. That's right. That's a very good way to look at it, because there's another word that really comes out of Aquarius, and that's friendship. But there's a key to this. There's friendship with oneself. And it very well may be that the moon, because this is moon is lunar going in, being your own friend, to as you just mentioned, to unplug from those affiliations, be your own friend, as opposed to looking for the friendships out there. or the affiliations out there.
I really like that, being your own friend, because the challenge right now for a lot of us, because that lunar eclipse is, has that whole south node in Aquarius feel too, where we have grown beyond, like, say you've been in kindergarten and those are your friends, and you're like, well, I don't do anything without Sally. And then the summer comes and you're bigger and you don't fit the same clothes, and it's first grade, and maybe Sally went to a different school, or maybe Sally just doesn't, you don't connect with Sally after the summer. I don't know. Those of us, it's funny because with the Leo energy, I go to childhood, but just remembering our childhoods, how much you grow over the summer, and then it's time for a new school year and you're suddenly in a new grade. And I feel like that's part of also what we're doing, is that there's almost this sense right now, Ruth, I don't know if you pick up on this. When I go on social media, it's like I just get tired sometimes, because I feel like there's almost this, people are just sort of spraying the same stuff out over and over again. And it's just there's a thrashing around that I'm perceiving in the world, where people are thrashing around trying to figure out how to make community work for them, how to make it meaningful. And I almost feel like, when you said going inward for the lunar and being your own friend, sometimes our best community is formed through a regrouping inside of ourselves. Like, who am I now? And then let it not always be that we have to stay in the same groups.
Well, again, I want to put real emphasis on the lunar, the moon, and by definition, it is about going inward. It's not a question of whether you, quote unquote, should I go in? Mm-hmm. No, that is one of those, because when an eclipse comes in whatever area of your chart, it is putting a punctuation mark and it's putting an exclamation. Here marks the spot. And that going in, and since it's a full moon, what is it that I need to release? Because nobody else can release it for you.
Exactly. It's very, very personal. And, I was thinking about that too before we started talking, that the lunar eclipse, if people can ever, if you've ever tracked eclipses through the years, a full moon, there's a pressure point there. I mean, it definitely calls your attention, but an eclipse is like a wormhole opens up and you're like, okay, you're done with this, move here. It just moves you there. It's almost, sometimes it feels like it's even not a choice, but it's always a choice on some level.
Well, it's a choice in the sense that you can, but when the eclipse, the actual event passes and it leaves its mark, because it will leave a mark, and we look, say, in the next couple of months, and you've had that little intuitive feeling, I really needed to have done this thing, but I didn't pay attention. That's when you really get the implications of it.
Yeah. And sometimes eclipse energy, what I've noticed in my own life is that when an eclipse hits, sometimes it's almost like when the water goes out for a tidal wave and then the wave comes back. At first you're like, I don't see anything. And I think it can appear to be events that are happening to us, not through us. But as always, an event is co-creative, and it's already happened on the inside before the person says goodbye, or something new shows up that you're thinking, where did this come from? It already happened. It's happened already, and then the event follows it, in my experience. But let's look at
before you go to your card. I want to make a practical example. Say, for example, this eclipse is going to be in your 6th house, and you've been having little indications about health kinds of things. It then is saying, pay attention. And I just wanted to bring it into because oftentimes it can get to be a little in the head. when we're talking about things.
Very
But
much. Yeah.
I just wanted to use an example. Say if it hits in that particular sector, it's like pay attention to what your body, mind, spirit complex is telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
As an
Exactly.
example.
No. Examples are great because
Yeah.
I feel that eclipses bring actual events and change. And whether you're experiencing them internally or externally, it's very important to notice the axis of growth that you're on. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to go through the houses to look at, just briefly, where could this change be happening for each of us? Because it is making it conscious makes it much less shocking or
Yes,
more
that's true.
digestible somehow. It's interesting because we draw cards every week for everyone for the weekly energy update, and we draw from different decks, and there's usually some correlation. Today I drew for everyone the 9 of Cups and the 9 of Swords. I'll just hold these up. 9 of Cups over here.
And then I had the companion. Is funny. And then I have the 9 of Earth. So we've got everything.
Well, what we have is a culmination, a lot of 9s, because we're talking, the lunar is about closing.
That's right. That's right.
Closing a door of experience. And the 9 is about endings or completions. Yeah. So we've got at least 3 9s here.
That's right.
And the only 9 that we don't have is a 9 of fire, which is interesting. But
well, we do have the fire. See, the thing, I think it's very important that we didn't draw the 9 because we are immersed in that kind of energy right now.
I know. Yeah, we have a lot.
We are immersed in it. Yes,
we are. And what I found interesting about this for everyone is that our dreams are alive through that Leo heart-based energy. Our wishes are standing ready for us to stay conscious of your wishes. And I also I feel like sometimes when I get the 9 of Swords that there's been some suffering happening, whether just some events happening in your life that are just, it doesn't even matter what the events are, it's the energy of suffering. So pay attention also to how much of your energy has been going to suffering. I like to ask my clients to always say, when they feel a prolonged energy of suffering, who does this belong to? Where is this really coming from? Because we're all in this together, and there may be some suffering that's actually leaking through. And that's something I deal with a lot with my empathic clients. So I like to put that out there. And Ruth, before the show, we were talking about how we need to write down our cards, because I think last week we got the 2 of Wands, which is this hot card with the 2 rockets, and it's called Dominion in the Crowley deck. But it's really, what I want to say about this one is, I feel like people may be experiencing almost like a derailment or a whatever that start is with Uranus and Aries, and who we want to be in our hearts. Maybe you've come up against some obstacles, or there's some a loss of energy somewhere along the way that you need to really look at where your energy is going. That's my reading with these cards is keep the 9 of Cups, keep your wishes close to you right now, and don't let yourself get derailed by, distraction.
Yeah, absolutely. You actually answered why this 9 of Earth is so important. Again, when all of that has taken place, in fact, this card basically says, find a quiet space for yourself.
Oh, nice. Yes.
And right, when I particularly looking at that 9 of Swords, I always have that feeling of dealing with that emotional and mental conflict, because when those swords are in such, suffering is both that, the pain, but it's a mental component and it's an emotional component.
It is. And it's really, the ways that we have made ourselves suffer, maybe it doesn't matter what the reason is. It may be to match anything, a community, a group, or an idea, or just an old pattern where we felt like we can't move on from suffering. I feel that it is that energy of suffering as an energy that we can pay attention to those places where we need to just let go of the need for suffering, because it's not always necessary. Suffering,
Right.
to me, that's a card of prolonged energy that is ready to be released, because it's a 9.
Right. Right.
What else did you get, my dear?
Well, I used a couple of other with Sonia Choquette, and I actually got ask your spirit helpers, and
Nice.
I think that's an important card in terms of what you just said. Ask your own inner guidance
Mm-hmm.
for awareness of the next step, as opposed to that mental chatter of what do I do and how do I do? Let me run over here and ask Susie, and let me ask this one.
Yeah.
Just ask your own guidance, because we all have it.
I love that. And also, that's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful card, by the way.
Yes, yes, it is.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of seeing it. That's excellent for clearing through the fog. The 2 other cards I did get, I got adventure and confusion. Once again, sort of this similar message that when we look for other people, like, how would you do this? How do you want that? It doesn't, you can look at other people's templates, but in the end it's going to be what you design. We're in the Leo energy that's like, I don't copy anybody. The Leo energy wants us to, it wants the design to arise from within. It wants it to be our signature or something, and not from other people. And other people can cause confusion. I like that.
Oh, yes.
And also, notice how that looks like it's in the lunar, like it's a lunar card.
Well, it is a lunar, because again, I really am emphasizing that lunar message, ask your spirit helpers, because it's lunar, and that's the direction that we need to connect with,
Yeah,
is
inward.
from the inward, right? To get through this particular time frame.
It's
Full
very
moon
important.
release.
Yeah, yeah. And releasing confused, it's interesting because the moon card has come up, came up recently, I think in this past week. And that can be that, are we reflecting too much? There is some confusion sometimes with that, and I think if you let the lunar energy be something that's within yourself, that it's really a deep inner reflection rather than a reflection of, say, what's going on around you or other people's opinions. It can go so much better. And I also just want to hold up adventure, because
And I have one more, and I think
oh yeah,
they walk together.
which one is that?
This is it's cloak yourself in your light. So
Oh,
there is the illumination of the moonlight. If the adventure, I think, is to go into the inner moonlight with your heart. You see the little heart in
oh
there
yeah,
on the heart.
that's
Yeah,
fabulous. I love
yeah, it really is. We have some lovely messages if we just pay attention to them.
Yeah, this is a really going to be a very interesting month. And I'm glad it's August, because I think this is going to be a very pivotal month of the year.
Yes.
And this week is it's very interesting, because we can talk about this, but we got to have that actual eclipse on Monday. So Ruth, we're out of time, or our timer has gone off to keep a lid on us. So anything else that you want to mention?
Well, I just want to invite everybody to come over to my Soul Sound sessions. I'm at soulsoundinsights.com, and we're going to talk on the lunar and solar full moon and new moon eclipse kind of stuff. And so I'm going to be doing that Monday from 10 a.m. to 11 Pacific time.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That'll be great. And I'm tomorrow on the radio, on 1-2 Radio at 10 a.m. Pacific for my show, Elements of Wisdom. And we're going to be talking all about the lunar, the Aquarius Leo axis, and the solar and the lunar eclipse as well. And my theme for this month is power. and where do we get our power from, and how do we use power, and with the eclipses. So it'll be a very interesting month. And
Well,
I'm
that sounds like fabulous,
yeah,
fabulous. Yeah.
yeah, it is. So thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe below and leave your comments about what's going on for you, and reach out to each of us, because we're doing some fun things for
Yes,
you.
yes, we
So
are.
we'd love to join with you and help further your heart's desires and your Nine of Cups. So
See ya.
we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.